As a patriarch at the peak of the Saint realm, your battle prowess is monstrous and no one dares to provoke you. But after a century of secluded cultivation, you discovered that your family was being bullied right at their doorstep. You had no choice but to wield the Supreme Emperor weapon once again, sweeping across the heavens. And at this time, in order to repair the mirror of time, you were swept back by the tides of time to the xianxia Holy Land of 6,000 years ago. Although the great saint deep within the Holy Land had suspicions about your actions, even if he wanted to stop you, he lacked the power to do so. He speculated that you had been lurking in the xianxia Holy Land for a long time, and showing yourself now meant you surely had enough confidence. On the other side, after coming out of the scripture pavilion, you directly arrived at a thatched cottage deep within the xianxia Holy Land. You stared at a stone stele in front of you. Engraved upon it was a secret technique. It was exactly the Xing movement character secret. You first recorded the Xing character secret within your sea of bitterness, and then turned your gaze to the only statue inside the thatched cottage. This stone statue occupied the center position. It seemed the purpose of building this thatched cottage was precisely to hide this statue. The person depicted in the statue before you looked remarkably ordinary, but you could tell that this person should be the one from the xianxia Holy Land, the ancient great emperor who once emerged from here, Taihua. This person had proved his Tao and become a great emperor at the end of the primordial era. In that era, when the myriad primordial races were incredibly glorious, he became one of the very few human great emperors to prove his Tao. He once wielded the emperor weapon, the ancient Book of Taihua, and forcefully carved out a territory for the human race. Legend has it that at the beginning of the Desolate Ancient era, after establishing the xianxia Holy Land, he mysteriously disappeared. Perhaps he was suppressed and killed by the joint forces of the primordial royal family's emperors. Or perhaps he passed away in secret meditation. No one knows. You looked at the stone statue and found an eternally inextinguishable mark on its glabella. That was exactly what the ancient great emperor had left behind. Right at this moment, a voice suddenly echoed, "Fellow Taoist, your aptitude is truly unparalleled. I look at your past and future, and it is entirely a void, as if you do not exist in this span of history." That mark within the stone statue suddenly revived, transmitting a weak divine sense. You immediately felt as if facing a great enemy. Fellow Taoist, there is no need to panic. I bear no ill will. I am merely a mark, ordered by great Emperor Taihua to guard the evil corpse here. Hearing this, your gaze fell beneath the thatched cottage, and you actually saw a coffin buried deep underground. Moreover, the material of the coffin was extremely extraordinary. It was cast from the world's rare evil-suppressing tree. However, there were some cracks on the coffin. Little did people know, this object could suppress the most yin and evil entities in the world. Many powerful cultivators in their twilight years would travel to the ends of the earth to find this object to suppress themselves, to prevent their corpses from birthing evil thoughts and ghostly malice after their death in old age. To think that an emperor's corpse was being suppressed below. You spoke in astonishment. Back then, great Emperor Taihua and two primordial emperors fought in a peerless, fierce land. He was secretly ambushed by a third primordial emperor, which led to him suffering severe injuries. He originally had 10,000 years of lifespan left, but was severely countered by the great Tao in his prime, ultimately dying with resentment. Before his death, the great emperor guessed that his resentment would very likely turn into ghostly malice. So he separated a mark to refine a stone statue, to suppress his emperor corpse after death, until the ghostly malice below was completely obliterated. The stone statue slowly revealed an earth-shattering piece of news. Great Emperor Taihua was actually sneaked attacked to death by a primordial emperor, and he even birthed a ghostly malice. A dignified, peerless great emperor actually met his end in such a way, arguably the second most tragic great emperor in history. The most miserable great emperor was naturally the Yuhua great emperor of the Yuhua divine dynasty, who was spawn-camped and killed by the ruthless emperor. But he deserved it, for offending such a ruthless person. Fellow Taoist, my time is running out. Now, the ghostly malice within the emperor's corpse is growing stronger and stronger. The evil-suppressing wood is now fast becoming unable to suppress the emperor's corpse. I hope you can relay this news to the people of the world, so that the living beings outside can be on high alert. From within the stone statue came an incredibly weak voice. A voice like a lamp running out of oil. You did not agree immediately, but stared at the stone statue without speaking. This matter is but a simple effort for you, fellow Taoist, yet it can save the common people of the world. In the future, you will surely enjoy endless blessings. The voice inside the stone statue weakly and intermittently spoke again, almost on the verge of fading away. Although your act is very convincing, but I can be certain that you are absolutely not the mark left behind by great Emperor Taiwa. You stared at the stone statue and suddenly spoke. The stone statue's voice was incomparably weak. Fellow Taoist, why do you say that? This mark was indeed left by great Emperor Taiwa, but the master of the mark has changed. The original one had no consciousness, but now it has birthed a consciousness. If my guess is correct, you are exactly the ghostly malice birthed from the corpse inside that evil suppressing coffin. An emperor's corpse, that is peerless material capable of refining a supreme emperor weapon. How many could there be across ancient and modern times? If I spread the news of this place to the outside, I'm afraid who knows how many reckless cultivators would come here to rob the coffin. By doing so, you would be able to escape using the hands of those people. The stone statue fell silent. Shortly after, a chilling aura emanated from it. Do those primordial races not deserve to die? They wantonly slaughtered the people of my race, treating our human race as rations and fodder. A dignified ancient emperor, to cut off my path of survival, actually used such despicable methods to sneak attack me. I hate them. I clearly still had 10,000 years of lifespan, yet my path was completely cut off because of this. I am not resigned. You and I are both of the human race. Are you really going to help those who once slaughtered our race, the myriad primordial races? Let me out. I want to slaughter all those primordial races. Great Emperor Taiwa's resentment towards the myriad primordial races was actually deep to such an extent. Even after hundreds of thousands of years had passed, the ghostly malice birthed from this resentment still had not been obliterated by the evil suppressing coffin, and seemed to be growing even stronger. On the verge of breaking through the evil suppressing coffin, you were shocked in your heart. And the cracks on that evil suppressing coffin, while the stone statue spoke, actually split open another subtle fissure. As the saying goes, things will develop in the opposite direction when they become extreme. Although the ghostly malice at this moment was extremely powerful, you could sense that its current state was not good at all. The stronger the evil thoughts, the stronger the suppression from the evil suppressing wood. Once it could no longer resist, it would be turned to ashes and annihilated in an instant. This ghostly malice obviously also knew its own situation, so it urgently wanted to rely on external forces to help it escape its predicament. Putting aside whether I will let you out or not, even if I help you escape your predicament, with your current state, how can you deal with those ancient emperors? Releasing this entity was impossible. Once the ghostly malice came out, the world would definitely fall into chaos. I have my own ways to recover to my peak state. Your way is probably to initiate a dark turmoil, devouring life essence to restore your peak state, right? Hearing this, the Taiwa evil malice in the stone statue revealed a surprised tone for the first time. You actually even know about the dark turmoil. To even know such a deep secret, it guessed that you were an old monster who had survived, walking out from a dark turmoil. You must be a human great emperor. Only powerhouses at the great emperor level could safely survive a dark turmoil. But after thinking back and forth, the Taiwa evil malice still couldn't figure out which other human great emperor matched your profile. It couldn't help but wonder who exactly you were. Fellow Taoist is also a figure who has reached the extreme realm. You should understand. Reaching a realm like ours, only people of the same kind can be called friends. How can those ants outside compare with our lives? We are the greatest existences between heaven and earth. One of us is worth trillions of ants. If you let me out today, if you ever need it in the future, I will definitely stand by your side. There is a good old saying, it is better to have one more friend than one more enemy. The Taiwa evil malice had already assumed that you were also a human great emperor who had once severed your own Tao. In its view, the supremes of the outside world have always preferred to have one more friend rather than one more enemy. You would definitely agree to its request. Unfortunately, it thought wrong. You not only disagreed, but instead extended your divine sense to study the stone statue. It turned out that inside this stone statue, an intact and complete emperor formation map was carved. And that mark was the formation's core. With the passage of time, cracks appeared on the formation patterns inside the stone statue over the years, causing a massive loss of power, which led to a portion of the ghostly malice in the coffin below, escaping and taking over the stone statue. It was estimated that, in at most 3,000 years, the stone statue would split open. The emperor's corpse in that coffin would also, driven by the evil malice, descend upon the mortal realm once again, and then become a supreme within the forbidden zones, to initiate a dark turmoil in the future. You had already anticipated the future of the Taihua evil malice. Among the Supremes who initiated dark turmoils in the original novel's future, there was no lack of former human great emperors, who later degenerated into Forbidden Zone Supremes for the sake of longevity. The Taihua evil malice would most likely become one of them. You immediately took action to repair the Emperor formation inside the stone statue. To be on the safe side, you even specially carved the Emperor formation you mastered to reinforce it. Of course, it was not the complete version, just a fragmented corner of it, but it was enough to reinforce that mark inside the stone statue, ensuring that even for tens of thousands of years more, no accidents would happen. What are you doing? A panicked voice suddenly rang out from within the stone statue. Originally, this consciousness held the upper hand inside the stone statue, but with the reinforcement of the formation patterns, that mark left behind by Great Emperor Taihua once again seized back control of the stone statue and was currently suppressing and killing that evil malice. Ah, no. I will kill you. That evil malice roared in terror and indignation, resisting desperately. Boom! A terrifying rumbling sound suddenly erupted from within the coffin, as the thing inside struggled desperately, trying to escape. The coffin below cracked open another fissure. The formation patterns hidden in the dark immediately surfaced, and with the stone statue as the core, heavily pressed down with a boom. The ground seemed to sink a bit. I remember your aura. I will not let you off. The indignant voice inside the stone statue gradually dissipated, ultimately completely suppressed by you. You breathed a sigh of relief. This was a terrifying major enemy. Once it broke free, it would be comparable to a great emperor alive in the world, no weaker than those supremes in the Forbidden Zones. Meanwhile, outside the thatched cottage, several divine sensors were transmitting messages high in the sky. He actually repaired the seal on the stone statue. Could this person also be a human great emperor? Impossible. Since ancient time, emperors do not meet emperors, and sovereigns do not meet sovereigns. This person can absolutely not be a human great emperor. He is most likely a quasi-emperor, a quasi-emperor. No wonder he dares to hide so confidently within our xianxia Holy Land. Anyone who bears the word emperor in their title will possess unimaginable methods and earth-shattering, terrifying strength. Simply stepping into this realm signifies that, if not born at the wrong time, they would inevitably have proved their Tao as a great emperor. The entire xianxia Holy Land only has a total of 3 great saints, and not a single quasi-emperor. This is enough to show how difficult it is to set foot in this realm. They are a transcendent holy land possessing a complete inheritance of an ancient, great emperor, yet even such a holy land has never produced a quasi-emperor to hold down the fort. Therefore, seeing what you had done, the elders all had faces full of shock. Pass down the order. From now on, any information regarding that person on Can Peak is strictly forbidden from being investigated by anyone, said that great saint. You walked out of the thatched cottage. Now that the Xing character's secret was in your hands, you only needed to wait for the mirror of time to recover. Inside Can Peak, little madman woke up and scanned his surroundings. Scratching his head, he asked in confusion, "Where is Big Brother Luo?" He didn't see your figure, but instead saw an uninvited guest. Yunyue, you still dare to come. Little madman gritted his teeth and stared at that figure. 2 years ago, this person knew full well that the Holy Land elders had issued an order forbidding anyone from attacking you. Yet he still secretly targeted him and Wei Yi, causing him and Wei Yi to suffer severe injuries during a mission. Afterward, he was placed in solitary confinement by his father, Elder Yun Shan. Unexpectedly, he had been released now. It seemed like a punishment, but in reality, it was a cover-up. This place is my xianxia Holy Land. I go wherever I please. His tone was gloomy and cold. He seemed to be brooding over being locked up for 2 years. I heard that the 2 of you are now part of the 3 heroes of Tiangshuan. What a coincidence. I also want to be one of these 3 heroes of Tiangshuan, Yun Yue said sinisterly. Fine then. I've wanted to beat you up for a long time anyway. Little madman's eyes flashed with a dangerous divine light. Yun Yue remained unmoved and said, "Who said I wanted to challenge you? I want to challenge Wei Yi." Currently, little madman was at the great perfection of the dragon transformation realm. He, a cultivator in the 4 extremities secret realm, was far from being a match. You, a cultivator in the 4 extremities secret realm. How do you have the nerve to say that out loud? Wei Yi is only in the Dao Palace secret realm. Little madman wished he could attack right then and there. But in the dark, he sensed a extremely strong aura of a Dacheng king. He didn't even need to think to know who it was. That old dog, Yun Shan, For the other party to come so blatantly, it must have been under the instructions of the xianxia Holy Sun. In the past, Little Madman was a strong candidate for the position of xianxia Holy Sun. The two of them had sparred once, and ultimately, because his cultivation time was shorter than the Holy Sun's, he suffered from the realm disadvantage and narrowly lost to the xianxia Holy Sun. But in these past 2 years, due to your guidance, his realm had advanced by leaps and bounds, and it was solid, genuine progress. The current Holy Sun was only at the great perfection of the dragon transformation realm, on par with Little Madman. Perhaps sensing that his position as the Holy Sun was being shaken, he secretly instructed the father and son to deal with them. Yunshan and his son were absolute supporters of the xianxia Holy Sun. All right, then let Wei Yi fight him. A voice came from up the mountain. Immediately after, you were seen descending from the sky, bringing Wei Yi along. Seeing you, Yun Yue gritted his teeth, wishing he could skin you alive and swallow you whole. If his father hadn't stopped him 2 years ago, he would have long made you pay with your life for Min Wen. But the current him didn't know yet that an imminent disaster was about to fall upon his head. You completely ignored his anger and looked towards Yun Shan, who was hiding in the dark, saying, I do not wish for any outsiders to interfere in their spar. This child is indeed no ordinary person. Yun Shan's pupils contracted, instantly feeling that his imposing aura had been suppressed. Could it be a half-saint, or an old monster at the saint realm? Then we will do as fellow Taoist says. At this moment, Yun Shan's mind underwent an earth-shattering shift. A Dao Palace secret realm cultivator fighting above his level against a four-extremities secret realm cultivator? That sounds way too like a fantasy. With a difference of a whole major realm, it was simply impossible to win. Actually, Little Madman was also a bit worried. But he trusted you. Since you let Wei Yi step up, it meant everything would be fine. But upon getting the news, the many xianxia Holy Land disciples who hurried over to watch the fun didn't think so. Wei Yi, you absolutely must not accept. There is a major realm difference between you and Yun Yue. This is no longer something that cultivation methods and secret techniques can make up for. In my opinion, after some people were crowned with the title of the 3 heroes of Xianxia, they became arrogant and conceited, and lost all sense of their own actual strength. Arrogant, and among the spectating disciples, the xianxia Holy Sun was also within the crowd. Hearing the surrounding mocking words directed at Wei Yi, a playful, mocking expression appeared on his face. Big brother Luo. Wei Yi was also a little unconfident. You smiled and said, you don't need to worry about failing. Skipping a major realm to fight is indeed a bit strenuous for you, but it doesn't mean you don't have the power to fight a battle. In this battle, you will definitely lose. But I hope more that you can comprehend yourself within this battle and achieve a breakthrough during the fight. Although Wei Yi's aptitude was high, his cultivation time was too short. Naturally, he couldn't compare to Yun Yue, a Holy Land disciple who had cultivated since childhood. Fellow Taoist Luo speaks truly. A voice drifted over. Everyone looked over and saw the Holy Maiden approaching gracefully, looking just like the profound Maiden of the 9 heavens. Seeing this person, the Holy Sun in the crowd first had an awkward, ugly expression, but finally let out a long sigh, and cupped his fist towards the xianxia Holy Maiden. The xianxia Holy Maiden nodded slightly in response. Under the halo of the Holy Maiden, he, the Holy Son of the xianxia Holy Land, was almost entirely eclipsed and dull. Not only was she the #1 beauty in the eastern wasteland, her cultivation base was that of a peerless monster capable of competing with a great emperor. In the eyes of everyone looking at her, there was only stunning awe and admiration. Even Little Madman had to express his admiration for this senior sister of his. Only you felt that things were a bit bad in your heart. 2 years ago, you had picked up a paper boat from the stream at the foot of Can Peak and answered a question written on that paper boat. From then on, Can Peak had been targeted by this Holy Maiden. More than once, she had indirectly inquired about your origins from the people around her. Senior sister, you came to take a walk with Big Brother Luo again. Little Madman's eyes darted around, and he asked with a cheeky grin. The Holy Maiden gave a moving smile. Yes, indeed. I wonder if fellow Taoist Luo is willing to take a stroll with me around Can Peak. Little did others know that over the past 2 years, every time she visited Can Peak as a guest, the Holy Maiden would inevitably have a special private rendezvous with you. You didn't know where this Holy Maiden had heard that the Mirror of Time could predict the future. From then on, this Holy Maiden would often come to Can Peak for a stroll from time to time. Facing the Holy Maiden's invitation, the crowd of unknowing Holy Land disciples were dumbfounded. Who was this person? He actually gets to walk alongside the Holy Maiden. Soon, someone recognized that this person was the one who, in the past, defeated the Yaoguang substitute Holy Sun and helped the Holy Maiden retrieve the 10,000 Faces flower. Besides that, Wei Yi, who was about to fight Yun Yue, and two of the three heroes of Tiangshuan also called him Big Brother Luo. This person's identity was extremely mysterious, and his origins were extraordinary. It was only heard that someone had once seen this person, sitting as an equal with the Holy Land elders. Big Brother Luo, you should hurry and accompany senior sister for a walk. With Big Brother Madman watching over things here, they definitely won't dare to act recklessly. Wei Yi hurriedly urged, terrified that you would miss this great opportunity to have a date with the Holy Maiden. Little did he know that the Holy Maiden inviting you out was merely to interrogate you about some future matters. Little Madman also stepped forward and confidently said, "That's right. I'll keep an eye on things here. Just rest assured, Big Brother Luo." This time, the Patriarch asked me to come and consult fellow Taoist on some questions. I hope fellow Taoist will not decline. The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden transmitted via divine sense. You sighed in your heart, slightly returned the bow and smiled, saying, "Please follow me. I heard that fellow Taoist has recently been studying a game called Chinese chess. I suppose it must be this object, right?" The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden took a seat in your cave dwelling. Placed right in front of the two of you was a chessboard. How did the Holy Maiden find out? You had clearly just crafted this chessboard a few days ago. The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden smiled but said nothing. Her meaningful, city-toppling smile hinting at everything. You understood and your face instantly darkened. You can guard against thieves day and night, but it's hard to guard against thieves inside the house. She looked around, feeling that your interior design style was quite peculiar. A long chair inside the cave dwelling, wrapped in demonic beast hide, caught the Holy Maiden's attention. Fellow Taoist, what is this object? It feels extremely comfortable to sit on, soft and cozy. This object is called a leather sofa. It's a chair from my hometown. If the Holy Maiden likes it, consider it a gift to you. Hearing this, the Tiangshuan Holy Maiden put it away right in front of your face. Then it would be impolite for me to refuse. Fellow Taoist, what is this object? The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden looked toward a colored glaze mirror. I call it a television. By injecting source stones to activate the formation inside, you can view the mountains and rivers within the eastern wasteland, the various human affairs, and the struggles among cultivators. However, for places where certain powerhouses reside, it cannot project them. This thing was a product of your failed attempt to create a replica of the Mirror of Time. The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden's jade-like hand reluctantly stroked the television as if she was very fond of it. If fellow Taoist, just as you were speaking, you saw that the Tiangshuan Holy Maiden had already stored it into her divine treasury. Turning her head to continue looking at the many novel gadgets around, you understood now. The Holy Maiden had taken a liking to your modernized novel gadgets. Therefore you said, if the Holy Maiden likes them, I will have Wei Yi send a set over another day. The Tiangshuan Holy Maiden gave a city-toppling smile and said, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoists then. You brewed a pot of spiritual tea and said, the Holy Maiden seems to know the functions of these things. If this Holy Maiden didn't know the functions of these things, then there would be a ghost at work. I have heard a little. I heard that when fellow Taoist Luo first joined the Holy Land, the reason you used was that you admired a peerless woman. Looking at it now, fellow Taoist does not admire her that much. Or perhaps, you have never admired her at all. She spoke softly with an agile, lively voice, as expected of the number one beauty from 6,000 years ago. Facing this kind of tone from her, even a cultivator at your realm couldn't help but be intoxicated by it. The Patriarch asked me to ask you, Senior, has Senior seen a corner of the future? Did the Tiangshuan Holy Land ultimately succeed in the future? This time, the Tiangshuan Holy Maiden no longer addressed you as fellow Taoist, but addressed you as Senior. Having just heard that your strength was on par with her own patriarchs, she was completely shocked. The you before her eyes looked about the same age as her no matter how one looked at it. You were silent for a moment and said, since ancient times, how many outstanding heroes, ambitious warlords, and ancient emperors have not necessarily been able to succeed? If there is a road to becoming an immortal in this world, why would it bury countless supreme gods, leaving behind only an illusory legend? You didn't mention a single word, yet you had already clearly stated the result. The Tiangshuan Saintess continued to ask, unreconciled, will the Holy Land decline because of this? You did not reply directly, but instead said, I intercepted a corner of a picture of the future from the River of Time. The Saintess will understand after seeing it. You took out the broken mirror of time and placed it on the table. Subsequently, the mirror slowly changed, emerging a silent world. There was no human presence, no smoke or fire, only streaks of divine veins lying dormant here. The terrain was even a grand flourishing momentum rarely seen in ancient and modern times. But it was exactly such a grand flourishing land that lacked even a trace of vitality. It was extremely terrifying. And at this time, a woman with a pale face, completely in disbelief, stood within it. She was seen stepping back continuously, muttering to herself, "Absolutely impossible. How could it be like that? A transcendent holy land at the height of its power, at its absolute peak, simply just because of attacking the Forbidden Zone, actually faced complete annihilation in the future." At this moment, the Xianxia saintess could not help but suspect everything in the Mirror of Time was fake. A dignified and grand holy land, being completely wiped out with its entire sect merely for attacking the Forbidden Zone. Was the Forbidden Zone actually this terrifying? She was horrified in her heart. Senua's imagery. Is it truly a corner of the future intercepted from the River of Time? The Xianxia saintess's tone was heavy, and her flawless face seemed unable to accept such an ending. That is naturally a picture of the future. It's just that it wasn't intercepted, but projected. Within the Mirror of Time, there is a recorded projection of the future ruins of the Xianxia Holy Land. This was something you discovered by chance. Traveling through the River of Time is too shocking a matter. Even an immortal king might not necessarily be able to achieve it. You yourself were an exception. Strictly speaking, you were merely a stowaway, relying on the loopholes of the laws of time to stow away into the history of the past. Facing her gaze filled with hope, you simply put away the Mirror of Time and did not say more. What you did was already considered leaking heavenly secrets. Saying any more might very well lead to a reckoning in the future. Telling her these things was considered repaying the grace of the Xianxia Holy Land for gifting you the secret of Xing. The saintess left with a heavy heart. Whether the Xianxia Holy Land would eventually still mobilize the entire sect to attack the barren ancient Forbidden Zone, you had no way of knowing. Now, you only needed to wait for the time when the deity inside the mirror awakens. And that day was not far away. You could feel that the origin of time inside the Mirror of Time was almost completely refined. The originally shattered small mirror surface had now condensed into a completely flawless large mirror surface, taking up 1/10 the size of the entire mirror surface. Outside Can Peak, the battle between Wei Yi and Yunjue also came to a close. Wei Yi, as expected, lost. However, the disciples of the Holy Land were unexpectedly silent. Wei Yi, in the Dao Palace Secret Realm, was actually able to trade blows evenly with Yunjue in the Four Extremities Secret Realm. At this moment, everyone finally realized the true value of the three outstanding talents of Xianxia. Their talent alone left everyone else far behind. Stop. In the future, whenever you meet that person, you must naturally show respect. Yunshan naturally heard the unwillingness in his son's heart. Originally, he wanted to suppress Wei Yi and the others, but ultimately he became his stepping stone. Yunjue felt an incomparable humiliation in his heart. From beginning to end, you never even looked him in the eye. You merely dispatched a child not even 10 years old to dismiss him casually. 3 days later, Patriarch Nanyang returned to the Holy Land injured, carrying the Emperor weapon. Beneath the barren ancient Forbidden Zone, there indeed lay a path, and stood a stone tablet engraved with 3 eternal characters. Road to Immortality. As soon as this news came out, the entire Holy Land boiled over, becoming an immortal. That was the pursuit of countless people through ancient and modern times. How many formidable figures in the world had bowed down before this bone-littered immortal road? And now, a shortcut to becoming an immortal was right before their eyes.